what would a food forest look like in Los Angeles, California? So we're out here on a hill, and it's a chaparral biome. So there's a lot of bushes, some small trees, and you can kind of see, maybe if you look down in the valley, there's some taller plants. It's more of a forest ecosystem. So if you're in Los Angeles, California, and you want a food forest, you will have a forest ecosystem. It's just a question of where on the land you are. If you're up on top of a hill like this, somewhere flat, rain is inconsistent. Unless you're in a perfect valley that collects rainwater, rain is inconsistent. So a food forest in Los Angeles, California is totally feasible, and there's two ways you could go about this. You could either design the food forest to not need irrigation. This is doable. We can do it with deep mulch, drought-resistant plants, but the problem is some years there's such an extreme drought that you're just going to need to irrigate anyway if you want the food forest to do well. So as far as building a food forest in this type of ecosystem, the answer is that you need some form of irrigation. So what that looks like is it could be drip irrigation, it could be sprinkler irrigation, but as far as droughts and water conservation, we're probably going to want to do drip irrigation. So the first thing usually that people say when I mention this is that there's droughts, there's water shortages. On a year where you're going to need to water your food forest and it's not raining all summer, that's a year where we're low on water. Well, the answer is that actually to maintain a food forest that will feed multiple people throughout the year, the amount of water we need is very low. It's just like a shower. It's really not that big of a deal. And the food that you're growing, as far as sustainability, compared to the water used for agriculture in California, it totally evens out. And here is why. The reason is because of what I just described. What did I say the other option is? The other option is to use drought-resistant plants and deep mulch. We're still gonna do that. We're still gonna use deep layers of mulch so that when we do water with drip irrigation, the water is held in. So say right here, we were to build a food forest. We're gonna have like 8 inches of wood chips. We're gonna have plants that are constantly producing leaves. When we do water with drip irrigation, it's going through that mulch, soaking into the roots, and it's being held in. The food forest is producing shade so that it holds the water in. When it does rain in California, when there's a wet season, we don't need to irrigate. Then when there's a dry season, the water stays wet deep down for a long time. So, as far as building a food forest in Los Angeles, California, those are kind of the structure we're working within. We're going to want some drip irrigation, which is a very cheap system to install. Food forests are extremely productive in small scales. It's not going to be that big of an irrigation system. You could literally do it for a couple $100s. So you want the drip irrigation. You want to plan to irrigate not all the time, but when there's a drought, to just press a button and have it watered. And the next thing you know, you're in this area that doesn't freeze, where plants are growing year-round, where it's always producing, and you can have a beautiful food forest. Now we're gonna work with some native plants. There's a lot of beautiful plants out here like sage, lemonade berry, a lot of other fruit-producing plants. Elderberry even grows in the wilderness here. I don't know if it's native, but it does grow in the wilderness. So let's get a little more in the sun. Now, in an area like this, we're gonna wanna work with a lot of non-native but non-invasive trees. And in this climate, there is some amazing fruit. Oranges, lemons, limes, any kind of citrus, grapefruit, kumquats, tangerines is a beautiful thing to build a food forest around. These are plants that when they're not in a large monoculture are overall pretty pest resistant. You're gonna be able to grow these plants successfully. In a food forest, that's gonna be absolutely no issue. These plants are gonna thrive because they're gonna be taken care of by the plants around them. You wanna grow some guava, some Fayoa plants. Those are gonna be absolutely delicious. There's just so much you can do here because it doesn't freeze. Because of the climate, there is so much amazing fruit. So this is one of my favorite places to grow a food forest because you're getting sun year round, things are growing year round, there's so much amazing fruit you can grow, and you can just have a lot of diversity, a lot of amazing fruit, and it's a beautiful outdoor space year round. It can be done with very little irrigation, and you can do a lot on a very small space. So you see all these houses out here, they can have beautiful food forests, and we can do this in a way that works with nature. We're encouraging a lot of native plants. We're building habitat and food for the birds around. Oh, another one, loquat trees. You've got to have a loquat tree in your LA food forest, absolutely essential. So anyways, that's the video. That just gives you a quick picture of what a food forest would look like in Los Angeles, California. If I lived here, 100% I'd have a food forest. And this is one of the areas I'm most excited about as far as building food forests. So if you don't know who I am, if this interests you, check me out. Leave me a comment below. Send me an Instagram message at eternal.harvest. 2 words, eternal.harvest. Shoot me a message. If you live in this area, if you live in any area, I will build you a food forest. I will build it in whatever area you live in to work with the ecosystem there, to grow you a bunch of food in your yard. And especially if you live in LA and this is of interest to you, I'm really excited about building some amazing food forests with really good fruit around here. Peace.